What's good, y'all, and welcome to my review of the latest episode of Attack on Titan final season. Bruh, another phenomenal episode. Obviously, Annie got a good chunk of this episode. We learned more about a backstory that we kind of got a little bit of already from Lost Girls, from the handful of us that actually watched that OVA series, which you guys know I actually reviewed it. So, if you're curious why I thought, watch those, I guess. If I remember, I'll put them up in the iCards for you guys. I think I even made its own separate playlist, I think. I don't know, I'll have to check. But anyway, guys, yeah. And bro, that next episode, preview for the next episode, man, with we got Connie, Armin, it's called Pride. Ooh. I smell a true banger on our hands next week, ladies and gentlemen. I smell a true fucking banger. The dub was fantastic once again from Toonami, although we finally got, obviously because AOT is now the second show on the Toonami platforms right now. I have a feeling that they'll probably eventually switch Shenmue and AOT eventually, maybe like as the series progresses. It's either after Shenmue is going to finish up, they'll switch them and give AOT the top slot, or maybe midway there. I don't know. I just kind of get that feeling that they might end up flipping these two. Might flip the times, or they'll just wait till Shenmue comes out and then give AOT for like the last couple of weeks it's available. Either way, man, yeah, the dub was great, but we saw their cut version of it because for whatever reason, Toonami decides like whatever show isn't leading the block has its OP chopped in up. I don't know why they do it. Maybe something to do with maybe I don't know licenses or maybe so they can get more ads in the commercial break or something. I don't know what the reasoning is. Either way, they literally like cut out like the best part of the song with like the rumbling, the first part and like come out and stuff with like the really hardcore hitting up, but they kept like more of the normal singing part. But like I said, it still sounded great. But I'm like, man, y'all just cut like my favorite parts of the damn song. But anyway, guys, enough of me rambling. Let's just jump right into this episode. So it starts off basically and I like the way this episode started. It basically started off with like a kaiju movie almost. Like it was either, I forget where this started from. I forget if this was like that Godzilla 90s movie or from Jurassic Park or whatever. But like those movies whenever you get that big kaiju and you can see like the glass of water going. And we see like the water like moving and shit. Like I'm sure that Trump has a name or something, but you guys know what I'm talking about. We basically kind of started off with that where we kind of saw firsthand the effects of the rumbling. Where we saw that, we also saw like some like chandeliers moving all about, and obviously lots of destruction from the Titans moving on the walls and just walking straight forward to wherever Eren has directed them. So and then we kind of cut over to where we see Hitch saving a few of the civilians that were obviously caught in the destruction, trying to find survivors from the crumbling rubble and everything. And so she finds a couple of them. When we see some of the other military police soldiers grabbing them as well. We then head over to I guess like a makeshift hospital that they have or somewhere for the wounded, where she's carrying with one of the with the old lady. I believe this was the same old lady that she saved at the start of the episode. Might have been someone else. Correct me if I'm wrong. Might be wrong, but whatever. Anyway, so as she's treating him, she's like, "My home was destroyed by Eren Yeager." And then she overhears these civilians talking. She's like, "Oh, who cares if there's who cares? Oh, whatever. It's just what's wrong with just a sacrifice or two." Obviously, that's extremely fucked up to say in this type of situation. But anyway, we find out that these guys are basically Jaegerists. Basically, these are like the civilians that we saw that were chanting "Shingo Sasayo, Shingo Sasayo" in like the first half of the season. These are like Jaegerists. They're like, oh, Eren's doing us a favor. We have to sacrifice a few to save our homeland. And yeah, the Waltites, they're celebrating and everything. They're like celebrating, thinking that they have won the fight's over. But the guy that they're talking about says how dare you, and then when one of the other guys tells me he's lost a lot, that he lost his son, and that a lot of other people who also died when the walls collapsed, obviously from all that destruction. Eren Yeager And then like the guy comes back, he's carrying here, kills some people. But if he hadn't summoned the Wall Titans, the Eldians of this island would have been slaughtered by the Outsiders. And they're thinking like they have won, and they're all chanting, Shingo Sasayo. So obviously Hitch notices that things are gonna get hairy. This goes on. One of the other guys comes in there, and tells him this isn't good. We need that. Yeah, and she's like, yeah, the civilians that it can start to get a little. The civilians are bound to clash when they get really excited. So then we cut to them. So when we cut over to them going to like this building or whatever, I'm forgetting. I'm pretty sure this was like the building where that blew up in the last half of the season when what's his name? One of the higher ups got blown up by like that bomber that Eren and Mikasa, or Armin and Mikasa, just barely managed to escape. If I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But anyway, they walk in there. She tells them to get all the riot gear they can get. And then when she gets inside, she notices these puddles of water all around the building, all around from the basement leading to this door. And obviously, as we saw from the last episode, we can assume, and so does she, that it's most likely Annie. So she goes into this door, and then once she does, Annie grabs her, locks her in a headlock, and tells her, if you scream, I'll cut your throat. And we see that she has her little prick thing on her ring is out there, so she's ready to just slice her throat. Speaking of slicing throats, man, that Assassination Classroom episode this week on Toonami that Aaron Tonight was fan. I remember when that episode started off. I'm kidding. I don't know why. I'm just kidding. I keep going off on Assassination Class. But seriously, that episode that aired on Toonami this week with that was on Nagisa's mom. I remember as soon as I saw her the first time it popped up in the episode, I was like, oh fuck, it's this episode. You guys follow me on Twitter, you know I was tweeting about that. But honestly, man, that's probably one of my favorite episodes of Ass Class period, man. I love that episode. I love what it does with Nagisa, her relationship with her mom and everything, man. Good shit, seriously. Watch Assassination Class if you guys have not already. It's a fantastic show. It's on Funimation now. I think also Hulu. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I am getting off topic. Man, this was pretty good. Okay, I'm done. Going off on tangents. But yeah, seriously, that episode of Assassin's Class, man, phenomenal. One of my all-time favorites of the series. Anyway, that's why I started to realize, oh shit, this season Loki kind of built different. But anyway, as I was saying, so she locks up, Annie locks Hitch in the headlock. She tells her, if you give me your, and she tells me, if you scream, I'll slice your throat. So then she tells her to give her jacket. But that's when Hitch then just judo throws her ass over to the ground and starts to restrain her. And she's like, huh, you're so weak, I thought you were a granny. I bet you thought I couldn't throw you like that, Annie. And she's like, of all people, why you? And so that's when she starts to restrain her, because she's like, obviously, I gotta restrain her, take her back to the basement, otherwise she's gonna get crazy. So as she's trying to restrain her, some dude's like knocking on the door, being like, Hitch, what's going on there, Hitch? And then that's actually when once she restrains her, that's when she calls out, tells him, hey, somebody, but that's when we find out that Annie had already cut herself, so she can turn into a Titan whenever the fuck she pleases. But then Hitch says, well, you're so weak that I doubt you could even transform. And she's like, possibly, but we won't know until we find out. So that's when the dude starts banging on the door, being like, Hitch! And then when we got left, if she's gonna try and risk it all, call her on her bluff about the Titan, or just say nothing. And actually, this is actually when the OP starts playing, and then once we get back from the OP, we're inside the stable where Hitch is getting this horse ready for her and Annie. So as she's getting the horse ready, Annie says, oh, it's finally over. I no longer have to hear your complaints about men. And so Hitch is shocked, and so she's like, wait, you were conscious throughout all this? And that's when we kind of figure out what was up with Annie throughout this whole time. She was just asleep the entire time, partially conscious, and more or less she was conscious, in some state of consciousness during this, but she was in a hazy dream, and she could hear Armin as well as Hitch, but their voices sounded like they were from afar, but she could still somewhat hear them. So because of that, conveniently low-key, she already knows everything that's happened with it. She's already known everything that's happened so far. And she's already know what in these last 4 years, and so she has a general idea of what's been going on in these last 4 years, or rather since the end of season 1. But yeah, so no need for major exposition dumps, large recap dumps for Annie to get her up to speed. She already knows everything that's happening so far. But anyway, they now start. But then that's when they start to ride on horseback, as Annie says. So Eren wants to destroy the world. is that true? And then when they get on the horseback, she obviously sees all the colossal titans that are obviously marching and the rumbling and everything. And she's like shocked, like holy shit, he actually did release the wall titans. And then she then asks, and then she like points out about all like the rubble and like that's the only meaningful job she's done as a soldier was cleaning the corpses and rubble, like when Annie and Aaron fought back in season 1. And that's when she asks her, how does it feel seeing the corpses you guys stomped on? And apparently, and this is something that Hitch has been asking Annie for like years now, so she finally gave it thought. And she really doesn't have anything really to say. She never said not something she ever really thought about. And then to kill someone was something they were praised for. I'm assuming Marlia, whether it was combatants or civilians beyond the border. It was to atone for the sins the Eldians had saved the world. That's how they justified all her actions. So, and then that's when Hitch asks him, like, so all these corpses under the rubble are just a minor sacrifice to you? And she says no. And she says she never really cared about saving the world. She didn't really care about anything, really. And that's when we finally start to get more of Annie's backstory, which, like I said before, we kind of got a little bit of it in the Lost Girls OVA, but this is kind of when we finally get the full picture. So basically what happened is that she is indeed actually half Marley and half Eldian because she was abandoned basically right a little after she was born, and the reason for that was because her mom was cheating on her, I guess, husband, I would assume, with an Eldian. So she actually is a bitch. So she's actually both. She's mixed. And then that's when she then an Eldian man who was also named Sherman, who came from Mercedes, ended up taking her in and raising her as her daughter. And so we see him train, and we see her training him in his martial arts, and because he wanted her to become a Marleyan soldier to, of course, improve his living conditions. And so we see her, and we'll see the trade montages, like she's trained in the rain, and she says, for as long as I can remember, this man beat the martial arts of his homelands into me, and the only thing that mattered to him was whether or not she could become a warrior. But then after some time, she was finally able to overpower her father, and then starts beating the shit out of him, and basically busted up his legs so much that he could never walk straight ever again. Which I want to say, this was in Lost Girls. This was the little flashback we got in Lost Girls, because I'm pretty sure she was also beating on her dad in that little flashback for Lost Girls. I want to say, like I said, I'm not entirely sure because I haven't watched that OVA series since I obviously reviewed it. So if any of you guys know for certain, leave it down in the comments. But I'm like 90% certain this was the scene that we saw in Lost Girls from Wit Studios in that OVA series. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I want to say it was this one. I mean, the location's different. She's not wearing her hoodie, but that was Wit Studios. But I don't even know where the manga was when this was made, so I'll cut them some slack on whether or not this was a scene there with any irregularities with the background or outfits, because I'm sure there was shit happened, from wherever that was and where the manga was then versus obviously now the manga's over but Mappa's doing this now. But anyway, I want to say this is the scene that we saw in Lost Girls. But anyway, as I was saying, so even though she just basically beat the shit out of this guy and basically crippled him, the dude was happy. He was rejoiced, saying that finally you can kill someone while unarmed. And then Hitch goes in, and you're like, wait, what is all this about again? And that's when she says, I listened to your life story for 4 years. You could at the very least listen to mine for a little while. So then she continues on with her backstory. And so it was at that moment, that's when everything basically, nothing mattered to Annie anymore. Not nothing. She didn't care who they were, where they were. She killed everyone indiscriminately. Nothing mattered to her. Life meant nothing to matter to her, even her own. But then, I believe she said the day before, the day before she was supposed to go out on the boat to Paradis to obviously do the thing, to take down the walls and everything and all that shit. Her dad comes in there and just starts apologizing and bawling out to her, begging her to stay, and to forget all the stuff about being honorary Marleyans and being warrior candidates, pleading her to stay, and he just returned those things. And she said, that man was my father. He thought of me as his own daughter, and she actually sees him actually bawling his eye out while he's pleading to her to stay. And it was and she says, just like me, I have people that are important to me. And so, then she was like, I'm done thinking that nothing matters to me. And she's like, I'm fully aware I couldn't commit irredeemable sins. And I also gotta say, the music in this part of the episode was fantastic. Whatever song they were playing here, man, was fantastic. I love the music in this part of the episode. But she's like, if it's for Return of My Father, I'll do it all over again. And she says, I'm glad to hear that. But even if you return to your father's place, because she also says that, I have a father still waiting for my return. She says, you won't find anything but rubble and a corpse. And she says that may be true. And then we get this absolutely beautiful shot of just all the Colossal Titans marching with like the setting sun behind them, man. And it looks amazing. Seriously, I gotta say, Mappa's been amping up their cinematography game with these in this season, man. Like, we had that one amazing shot with Yelena and like the blimps falling down. Now we got this shot, man. Seriously, Mappa's been amping up their cinematography game, I've noticed, man. Okay. I see you, man. I see you. But seriously, man, this is the type of shot I'm gonna try putting the fucking thumbnail. It looks so damn good. But anyway, so then we are inside one of the it's one of the Marleyan's internment camps. I'm assuming this is the one where Gabby and Falco's families are living in, but also there's also the guy that we saw in the last couple of episodes that was there, that was like just trying to buy his damn groceries when Aaron dropped the bomb of the century, like, I will kill you all, is also there as well. And they're trying to tell the guards about what's happening with Aaron, that they need to get out there. The guards don't believe them because, of course, they didn't see the vision because they're Marleyans, they're not Eldians. But he keeps trying to convince them, but they won't listen. And they're like, he think that they're just all plotting this shit together, trying to break free and escape. And he says, like, do you really think we are plotting this? He's like, no, but it's not impossible. So then he like loads up his rifle, points them at them, and has all the guards point their guns at him, and it says, but now you were all convicted of conspiracy. And so then he tells them to get down on their knees. So the dude gets down on his knees. He has like his hands up and everything. And then that's when we find out, or at the very least, I found out that this guy just trying to get his damn groceries is indeed actually Annie's father. Now, to be fair, if you were paying attention real close, you probably would have put the pieces of this together that, oh, this is Annie's dad. But I wasn't paying attention, so this was when I realized, oh shit, this is actually Annie's dad. The guy that's just trying to get his damn groceries. But anyway, because then we see more of the flashback where he's begging her, telling her to stay and whatever, and then she's begging her to promise to come back. And that's when we see Annie says, I promise. And we see like some tears in her eyes as well. So this is when my dude's like, just says, fuck it. So he's like, Hurrah! And like charges towards the soldier, and then we hear a gunshot as the screen goes to black. Now, that could mean one of two things. Either A, he shot and killed him, and Annie's dad is now dead, officially dead, or B, he missed, or maybe it could have been another gunshot because we hear staff or whatever. He also hears a gunshot. It's like a gunshot, and I highly doubt he heard the gunshot all the way from Marlia, which we found in the episode that most likely the gunshot he heard was from Flouch. So who knows? I'd like to think he's still alive, just for Annie's sake. I'd like to think he's still alive and maybe just managed to get the gun out of his hand or something. But whatever the case may be, there was a gunshot. We'll probably have to wait another fucking 7 episodes to figure out what happened to him. But anyway. So we then get back to get back to him, and he and like the guys are like bandaging him up, and like one of the other privates, cadets comes in there like, oh, Floach is taking over this fort. We need to leave. And so then he says, nah, I'm staying. I'm the one. Nah, I don't even have the energy to like live out the rest of my years in the mountains. I'm staying here. I don't got anywhere to go. And then he goes on about like, dude, why else do you think I'd let you piss ass beat the shit out of me? Because he tells them to join up with the Jaegers. He thinks that he believes that they're gonna take control of the island. So he tells them to just join the flow. And that's what he says to you, which I found funny that he actually did say, I only let you beat the shit out of me. I let you beat me. I just find that extremely badass when they say, I let you beat me. So he tells them to join just join the flow and join the Jaegerists and keep your heads down. But he tells them to, because he also says like the likes of you wouldn't even be able to protect yourself, protect anyone but yourselves. So he tells them just join the flow, and that The day will come for you to rise up. Until then, don't ever lose sight of who you are. So then that's when we get back to Mikasa and Armin, as Armin's like getting ready to try and catch up to Connie to obviously get Falco back, because they need him for Gabby to trust him, and obviously he has a bargaining chip with Reiner as well as Pieck to hopefully get them all to start working together. So Mikasa's telling him like it's not gonna work, you're not gonna show up in time, and he's like, what are you even gonna do? Like, what are you gonna tell him? Just tell him to lie down, to tell his mom to just let her lie down and not turn her not and just let her stay in time. And he says, yes. He straight up says, yes, that's exactly what I'm gonna tell him. I'm like, okay, bro, I appreciate your conviction, dedication, and yes, you are going to tell him no, but maybe not be that harsh about as you're saying it, my guy. Just say it. But anyway, so he says, like, I have to, even if it doesn't work, I have to show everything I can through action, otherwise Gabby won't trust me. She's the key to negotiating. And he's like, it's not the issue of who gets the hair of the night side that's going to go away. Will we repeat the last 20 years of conflicts around the power of the Titans and on this tiny little island? And that's when he says, I'm so tired. I feel like I could hop into bed and sleep for around 2 days straight, which probably he could, man. To be fair, the shit's been crazy these last couple of these last episodes. And that he needs, and so that's what he says, I'm off, and marches to the door. And then Mikasa asks him, what should I do? And he says, help, and then he says, help John, and you should try to think for yourself, which I know Armin didn't mean it like that, like the way I think it is, but when you just hear him say that, think for yourself, it's just like, damn, bro. I know he didn't mean it like that, but God, the way it comes out, man, at least how it reads. But and then that's when Mikasa asks him about Eren. And this is when he just snaps. And he just starts screaming at her, I don't know. I mean, what can we even do? Hanji and Levi could be dead for all we know. Flouch's men might point their guns at us. Like fucking Historia could also be in danger. Niccolo could be in danger. Yes, I finally Googled his name and figured out what his name was. I finally remembered to check that. He's like the military chain of command's broken, and like he just starts listing off all these different people and like names and just like people who could be in danger. And his mind's running at 1,000 miles a minute, you know. And he's like, we can't even think of Eren. Eren, and he says, Eren's a lost cause. You should know that. And then we just see Mikasa's face, man. Ugh, breaks my heart, man. Breaks my heart. And then Armin apologizes and says, if Arwen was here, the answer. If Arwen hears, he wouldn't have snapped at you like that. And that's when he says, the answer is clear now. I shouldn't have been the one that got revived. Which, I know it's still a contested topic. Like, even, like, actually, a funny story about this one. A friend of mine, Tribular over on Twitch. You guys should check him out. Great Twitch streamer. Good, you know, have some fun with us and the boys, man. But, like, I remember, like, this was we were discussing this whole thing about Armin. This was, like, I want to say when the first half of season 4 was airing. And he was one of the people that think that Erwin should have gotten, should have been the one that got the Colossal Titan, the one that should have been revived. Which I thought was interesting. He brought up, like, obviously very good points on why it should have been Erwin. I want to say I was on Armin's side with Eren when season 3 was airing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I honestly don't remember whose side I was picking when I was reviewing season 3. But I want to say I was team Armin, because Armin also brought a lot of good things to the table as well. So it's interesting they said that, and that then just reminded me of like that little debate, a little conversation I had with True over in the Twitch chat over like who should have been the one that got the Colossal Titan between Erwin and Armin. But anyway, that's when he leaves, and that's when Mikasa realizes her scarf is gone. Da-da-da! So obviously this makes a question: who took her scarf? I don't know, man. I don't know. It could have been that crazy chick that's been sipping over. Maybe she's like sniffing her scarf while she's like fucking masturbating to her or something. I don't know, man. With Attack on Titan, you never know. You never know what's up with this shit. Anything's possible now, man. But yeah, her scarf's gone, and we obviously don't know. So that's when Armin and Gabby, because Gabby's coming with them, are about to leave off to obviously chase down against Connie. Niccolo says that he's gonna stay in with the Blouses and stay in their care for now. And then that's when Gabby and Kayla have to say their final goodbyes. This was a pretty touching moment. And then that's when Gabby actually does tell Kayla that her real name is indeed Gabby, and she's like, "Oh, Gabby sucks. Or she says like Gabby's weird. I like Kayla. I like Mia more." So that's when they finally hug and they say their goodbyes, and Kayla does call Gabby when she says goodbye. Look, it's not a nice little wholesome moment. Then we go from a nice little wholesome moment to Flout shooting somebody's hand. Yep, quite the transition, I know. So after he shoots this poor bastard in the hand, John's telling him to stop, and Flout's like, "Oh, don't worry, I just need to teach this guy a lesson. He did not realize how dire the situation he is in right now." And John asks him, who made you act like you were the boss around here? And he says, "Glad you asked." And then he explains that 10 months ago, Aaron told him his entire plan, that indeed he was going to use Zeke to get the founding, and of course, use the rumbling and everything. So obviously John is shocked by this revelation, and he says like, "Today our plan succeeded." John is shocked by this revelation that he actually knew the entire plan this whole time. He says like, now you have lost your leader, including the military who backed you up, and now you guys will never regain your homeland. All that remains will just be the giant footsteps thanks to the rumbling, and you've now lost your reason for coming here was to retrieve your homeland. But then he's like, "Oh, but we will take you in and accept you as our Eldian brother if you want to use your strength to join the Jaegerists." Seriously, man, this fucking guy, Flout. Like, please, I hope to God by the time this series finally wraps up and that final episode airs, or maybe even a movie at this point, who knows? Maybe they will actually just save the ending for a movie. We'll have to wait and see on that. Like, nothing's been confirmed yet, but I know a lot of people say, "Oh, they're gonna make a movie. They're gonna make a movie." But we'll wait to see if Mappa actually does go with it and takes the Demon Slayer around and makes it a movie, turns it into a movie. But anyway, so I hope Flout dies. He's been getting on my nerves since season 3, man. Anyway, he's like, "We will take you in as our Eldian brethren." And then this guy, he's sick and tired. And he tells him he tells him to shut his mouth, you fucking loser. And then he keeps talking, and then Flout just shoots him in the head, then pops him a couple more times for good measure, I guess, for whatever reason. So, yeah, John is obviously shocked by this, that he just killed this guy. And he says he refuses to submit even in the face of a bullet. He lived as a proud volunteer until the end. And he's like, "But there's no need to die for pride. What's so bad about submitting?" He's like, "Would you rather die like him?" So then this is when Mikasa shows up, and she's wondering what's going on. And then this is when Flout answers as John's last question, saying that I speak on Aaron's behalf. And if Aaron's going to solve all problems beyond the island, I'll wipe away any resistance left within him. Anyway, we survived that hell 4 years ago. Now you can finally, and then now this is all over, man. Now you can go back. We won. You're good, man. You can live however you want now. And John, I guess, starts to listen to him. He's like, "Wait, what? We can actually, is this really over?" He says, "Yeah, you wanted to join the military police and live a comfortable life, man? Yeah, go for it, man. You can go back to being that condescending, what did he say? Like, it was like irresponsible, conceited bastard. Annoying, irresponsible, conceited bastard is what he said." And John's like, "What did you just call me?" Oh, man. And then we get like one last shot of Inyakapon looking over at John, and then we end the episode off with Connie on horseback with Falco. The credits are playing, and this is when Connie just starts blowing smoke up the poor kid's ass. They're like, "Oh, don't worry, it's too dangerous over down the south. I'm taking you to a hospital to help with your amnesia. Don't worry about it. Don't worry." And you got Falcon like, "Oh yes, thank you, Mr. Soldier." He's like, and I'm like, "Oh, this poor kid." And I'm like, "This poor kid, he doesn't know what's coming. He doesn't know what's coming for him, man." And then we also get like this little flashback with Connie, as well with Connie's like parents and siblings. So we actually see what his mom looked like before she became a Titan, and then we get like some little narration from Falco where he swear he has seen Connie somewhere before, but this is the first time. But Connie says it's the first time they're met, so he must be imagining it, which obviously he is not, because Connie's been lying through his teeth this whole time, and I'm pretty sure what he's referring to is back in the first half of season 4 when the Survey Corps made their invasion towards Marley. I'm assuming that's the scene. That's where he probably saw Kai before, was during all that madness. I would assume so. Because they were both on the airship when Gabby shot Sasha. So most likely that's what that's most likely where he's remembering Connie from. And probably something else. So that's where the episode ends, but we get a little post-credit scene with Pieck and the commander, where we find out the Marleya airships are going right back to Marleya, and then that's when finally we see Hanji again, and obviously Pieck instantly goes in there about to hear. She's like, "Oh, please don't hate me, okay? I don't have any weapons on me." And then they like pointing over to the guy that she has like on horseback and like a stretcher, which is obviously Levi, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, that's just a harmless guy that just barely escaped death." So yes, ladies and gentlemen, Levi and Hanji are indeed alive. Finally, it only took you motherfuckers 7 episodes to give me that answer, but finally we have our answer, and they are both still alive. Oh man. So yep, that's where the episode actually ends. Of course, you got the next episode preview afterwards, man. And yep. What an episode, man. What an episode. Crazy shit. Annie's backstory. We finally got like the full picture of it after we got that little tease of it back in Lost Girls. Levi is once again confirmed to still be alive. Thank you. Wish you could have told me that sooner, but whatever. It's alright. We got it now, man. But yeah, man. I have talked long enough, man. Overall, I'm going to give this episode, of course, a 10 out of fucking 10, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new, follow me on Instagram and Twitter if you like, at least that's what's below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time. She's